When Flash Gordon blasted onto screens in 1980, it appeared to be a loud, colorful space opera packed with extravagant villains, rocket cycles, and pulp-style spectacle. These are 15 hidden details you completely missed in Flash Gordon. Number 15. Before Star Wars became a cultural phenomenon, George Lucas attempted to acquire the rights to Flash Gordon from King Features Syndicate in the early 1970s. When negotiations failed due to prohibitive licensing costs and creative control disputes, Lucas developed an original space saga inspired by the same pulp serial structure that made Alex Raymond's comic strip legendary. Producer Gary Kurtz confirmed in later interviews that Lucas had been obsessed with Flash Gordon since childhood, watching Buster Crabbe's serial adventures repeatedly. The visual language of Star Wars, from opening crawls to wipe transitions, echoes techniques pioneered in those Depression-era theater serials. Universal Pictures eventually greenlit a Flash Gordon adaptation through Dino De Laurentiis, but by then, Lucas had already conquered the space opera genre with his own creation. Number 14. Lorenzo Semple Jr., who wrote for the camp-heavy 1960s Batman television series starring Adam West, penned the Flash Gordon screenplay under producer Dino De Laurentiis. His background shaped the film's theatrical dialogue and heightened tone, bringing the same self-aware exaggeration that made Batman a pop culture sensation. Director Mike Hodges initially resisted the camp approach, preferring a darker tone similar to his work on Get Carter, but De Laurentiis insisted on Semple's vision. The writer had also penned 3 Days of the Condor and The Parallax View, proving he could balance absurdity with craft. His Flash Gordon dialogue walks a tightrope between sincere adventure and knowing wink, creating a tone that confused 1980 critics but delights modern audiences. Number 13. Sam J. Jones was discovered after appearing on The Dating Game, the popular game show that had previously launched careers for actors like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Farrah Fawcett. Producer Dino De Laurentiis' daughter Rafaela suggested Jones for the role after seeing his appearance on the show, recognizing a star quality beneath his charming awkwardness. Jones's athletic background as a Marine and bodybuilder appealed to producers seeking a physical hero who could handle the demanding action sequences choreographed by stunt coordinator Peter Diamond. His football uniform entrance in the film deliberately showcased his physicality, establishing Flash as an all-American everyman thrust into cosmic adventure. Jones had minimal acting experience, which gave his performance an earnest quality that sophisticated actors might have undercut with irony. Number 12. Kurt Russell declined the role of Flash Gordon, reportedly concerned about being typecast in science fiction after his Disney contract work and television appearances. Arnold Schwarzenegger was seriously considered by Dino De Laurentiis and director Mike Hodges, but rejected due to his thick Austrian accent, which producers felt would undermine Flash's all-American hero image. These choices left the role to relative unknown Sam J. Jones, whose lack of baggage allowed audiences to accept him as the character without preconceptions. Casting director Joyce Galley conducted extensive searches across major agencies before settling on Jones. The everyman simplicity of Flash compared to typical action heroes became a defining characteristic, making him accessible rather than superhuman despite his extraordinary circumstances throughout the film. Number 11. Federico Fellini and Sergio Leone were both discussed as potential directors during early development meetings at De Laurentiis Entertainment Group in Rome. Producer Dino De Laurentiis, who had worked pulped with Fellini on multiple Italian productions, imagined Flash Gordon as operatic spectacle requiring a visionary European sensibility. Mike Hodges was ultimately chosen by De Laurentiis, bringing a grounded dramatic approach from his work on Pulp and Get Carter that contrasted sharply with the script's camp elements. The tension between Hodges' serious intentions and Lorenzo Semple Jr.'s theatrical screenplay shaped the film's unique tone, neither pure parody nor straight adventure. This creative conflict produced unexpected chemistry, blending earnest performances with deliberately exaggerated production design throughout the film. Number 10. Gilbert Taylor, cinematographer for Star Wars and Doctor. Strangelove shot Flash Gordon using techniques he'd perfected across decades working with Stanley Kubrick and George Lucas. His soft lighting and hazy filters give the film its dreamlike quality, creating atmospheric diffusion that makes Mongo feel like a fever dream rather than a realistic alien planet. Taylor clashed famously with Lucas on Star Wars over lighting choices, preferring theatrical contrast to Lucas's documentary-style approach. On Flash Gordon, producer Dino De Laurentiis gave Taylor unusual creative freedom at Shepperton Studios, allowing him to experiment with colored gels and layered exposures. The cinematography transforms cheap sets into mythic spaces, proving that lighting and camera movement can elevate limited production design into something visually transcendent. Number 9. Production took place mainly at Elstree and Shepperton Studios in the United Kingdom, where massive sets and matte paintings replaced real locations entirely. Production designer Danilo Donati, who had won Oscars for Romeo and Juliet and Fellini's Casanova, created Flash Gordon's visual world using theatrical techniques rather than realistic environments. Dino De Laurentiis chose British facilities partly for tax incentives and partly for access to skilled craftsmen from Pinewood and Shepperton's legacy productions. Dino De Laurentiis' sets embraced artificiality, using bright primary colors and forced perspective that recalled comic strip panels more than science fiction films like Alien or Star Trek. The theatrical aesthetic divided critics in 1980, but now feels intentional, a bold rejection of realism in favor of operatic fantasy. Number 8. Contract disputes caused Sam J. Jones to leave production before post-production finished at Twickenham Studios in London, creating a significant audio problem for director Mike Hodges. Some of Jones's dialogue was re-recorded by another actor during ADR sessions, supervised by the sound editor, though the specific voice actor's identity remains disputed in production accounts. Producer Dino De Laurentiis reportedly clashed with Jones over promotional obligations and contract terms related to sequels De Laurentiis Entertainment Group had planned. Jones wanted to renegotiate after seeing early footage, believing the film would be a hit that deserved better compensation. The dispute damaged relationships permanently, ending any possibility of Jones returning for sequels despite the contracts anticipating multiple films exploring Flash's continuing adventures on Mongo. Number 7. Actress Dale Haddon was originally cast as Dale Arden during pre-production meetings at De Laurentiis Entertainment Group headquarters in Beverly Hills. She was replaced by Melody Anderson due to chemistry concerns during early rehearsals with Sam J. Jones and director Mike Hodges, according to casting director Joyce Galley's later interviews. Anderson, a Canadian actress with journalism background, brought different energy to Dale, playing her as competent and sardonic rather than purely decorative. The recasting created minor continuity discrepancies between early promotional materials and final scenes visible in press kits from 1980. Anderson's chemistry with both Jones and co-star Topol improved the romantic triangle that drives the film's emotional stakes. Her performance balanced period damsel expectations with modern assertiveness, making Dale more than a passive prize. Number 6. Queen composed and performed most of the film's music, with Brian May and Roger Taylor spending months at Musicland Studios in Munich integrating rock score directly with dialogue and action. This approach was highly unusual in 1980, when orchestral scores by composers like John Williams dominated science fiction soundtracks for films like Star Wars and Superman. The band recorded musical hits synced tightly to battles and chases, with Freddie Mercury's vocals punctuating key moments like Ming's attacks and Flash's heroics. Howard Blake provided additional orchestral arrangements to supplement Queen's rock tracks when traditional scoring was needed. The soundtrack became more commercially successful than the film itself, achieving platinum status and introducing Queen to American audiences who'd previously ignored their earlier albums. Number 5. Max von Sydow's Ming costume, designed by Oscar winner Danilo Donati, was extremely heavy and restrictive, incorporating elaborate robes, armor plating, and a towering collar that limited head movement significantly. Von Sydow reportedly had to lie down between takes instead of sitting because the costume's structure made sitting impossible without damaging the intricate construction at Shepperton Studios. The Swedish actor, famous for Ingmar Bergman collaborations like The Seventh Seal, approached Ming with complete seriousness despite Lorenzo Semple Jr.'s campy dialogue. Von Sydow later told journalist Tom Hutchinson that he played Ming as tragic figure, an immortal emperor bored by centuries of absolute power. The costume's weight reinforced this interpretation, making every movement deliberate and menacing throughout Ming's scenes opposite Sam J. Jones. Number 4. Flash Gordon earned approximately $27 million domestically against its $20 million production budget, according to Variety box office reports from early 1981. Its mixed critical reception and competition from The Empire Strikes Back ended sequel plans that producer Dino De Laurentiis had aggressively developed at De Laurentiis Entertainment Group. Cast contracts negotiated by agent Jerry Perenchio had anticipated multiple films exploring Flash's further adventures, with options for Sam J. Jones, Melody Anderson, and supporting players. The disappointing returns meant unresolved story threads established in the finale would never be addressed. Queen's soundtrack significantly outperformed the film commercially, going platinum while the movie struggled in theaters. International markets provided better returns, particularly in the United Kingdom, where Queen's popularity boosted awareness, but domestic failure killed franchise ambitions permanently. Number 3. Episodic pacing, cliffhangers, and bold chapter transitions mirror early serials like the 1936 Buster Crabbe Flash Gordon, produced by Universal Pictures for Saturday matinee audiences. The structure intentionally honors the character's origins in Alex Raymond's 1934 comic strip, which had pioneered continuous adventure storytelling and newspaper syndication. Screenwriter Lorenzo Semple Jr. and director Mike Hodges crafted abrupt scene endings and dramatic transitions that feel exaggerated by modern standards. Each sequence builds to a mini climax before jumping to another plotline, exactly as Depression-era serials maximize suspense across weekly installments shown before main features. This storytelling style confused critics expecting conventional 3-act structure when the film premiered at the Odeon Leicester Square in London. Production designer Danilo Donati's sets reinforced the serial aesthetic with painted backdrops reminiscent of Republic Pictures' low-budget production. Number 2. Rocket cycle sequences relied on miniatures, wire work, and optical compositing supervised by visual effects coordinator George Gibbs at Shepperton Studios without any computer-generated imagery. The exaggerated physics reflect comic strip logic rather than scientific realism, with vehicles banking and swooping like World War I biplanes during the attack on Ajax. Effects cinematographer Paul Wilson shot miniature rocket cycles against blue screens, then composited them with live-action plates of actors on mechanical rigs designed by engineer Alan Bryce. The layered motion plates and stylized movement created dynamic action that prioritized visual excitement over physical plausibility. Stunt coordinator Peter Diamond choreographed the aerial combat like sword fights, with vehicles darting and thrusting in impossible maneuvers that emphasized Flash Gordon's operatic adventure tone throughout the climactic battle sequences. Number 1. Flash Gordon became beloved through cable television reruns, home video releases, and fan culture that emerged throughout the 1990s and early 2000s on networks like HBO and Showtime. Its sincerity, bold color palette by cinematographer Gilbert Taylor, and Queen's propulsive soundtrack fueled critical reevaluation by genre scholars and midnight movie audiences. Director Mike Hodges lived to see the rehabilitation, expressing surprise at fan conventions that his troubled production had found an appreciative audience decades later. Producer Dino De Laurentiis never made his planned sequels, but Flash Gordon's afterlife exceeded its theatrical performance. What 1980 critics dismissed as campy mess is now recognized as bold experiment, a film that rejected Star Wars realism for something stranger, more theatrical, and ultimately more memorable for embracing pulp adventure without apology or ironic distance. Flash Gordon endures as a collision of comic strip tradition, rock music, and fearless spectacle. What once seemed excessive is now embraced as its greatest strength, a film that refused to compromise its theatrical vision for mainstream acceptance. Which hidden detail surprised you most, and what film should we open next?